The slap came out of nowhere. 1 second, I was standing at my son's wedding reception, holding a glass of champagne I hadn't touched, watching Michael and Ashley cut their ridiculously overpriced cake. The next second, my daughter-in-law's palm connected with my cheek hard enough to make my ears ring. "You embarrassed me in front of my friends," Ashley hissed, her perfectly manicured finger jabbing toward my chest. "Showing up in that suit? My wedding photographer had to edit you out of half the photos." The reception hall went silent. 200 guests stared at me like I was something they'd scraped off their designer shoes. Michael stood behind his new wife, his jaw tight, but he didn't say a word. Not one word. I touched my face. It burned. "And another thing," Ashley continued, her voice rising. She was on a roll now, performing for her audience. "We need your apartment keys. Michael and I need a bigger place, and frankly, that apartment is wasted on you. You're retired. You can move somewhere smaller." I'd lived in that apartment for 32 years. Margaret and I had brought Michael home from the hospital to that apartment. She'd died in the bedroom 6 months ago, and I could still smell her perfume in the closets. "Ashley, maybe we should discuss this later," I said quietly. "No, we'll discuss it now." She held out her hand, palm up, waiting. "Keys. The thing about humiliation is that it happens fast, but you remember it in slow motion forever. I remembered every face in that crowd. I remembered the smirk on Ashley's mother's lips. I remembered my son looking at his shoes. I remembered reaching into my pocket. But I didn't hand her the keys. "I gave Michael $40,000 2 weeks ago," I said. My voice was steady, calm. "For this wedding, for your debts. That was supposed to help you start fresh. And we're grateful," Ashley said, snatching the words like they tasted bad. "But we need more. We need space. Your apartment has 3 bedrooms. You don't need 3 bedrooms." I looked at Michael. Really looked at him. When had my son become this stranger? When had he learned to stand silent while his wife slapped his father? "I'll think about it," I said. I left the reception before the cake was served. Nobody tried to stop me. That night, sitting in my apartment with Margaret's empty chair across from me, I made a phone call to my bank. It was 11:47 p.m. The automated system let me cancel the check with 6 button presses. My phone rang at 6:15 a.m. Michael's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring. He called again at 6:18, again at 6:23. I poured my coffee and watched the phone buzz against the kitchen counter like an angry wasp. The 4th time he called, I answered. "Dad, what the hell?" His voice was ragged, panicked. "The bank says the check bounced. They're saying you canceled it." I did. Silence. Long enough that I thought he'd hung up. "You did? Why would you do that?" I took a sip of coffee. It was too hot. Burned my tongue. I changed my mind. "You can't just change your mind. We already spent that money. Well, most of it. We booked the honeymoon. We paid the caterers. Dad, we're going to Hawaii in 3 weeks. That sounds expensive. This isn't funny. I'm not laughing, Michael." Another silence. When he spoke again, his voice had shifted. Harder. "Fix this. Today. Transfer the money into our account." "No." "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, no. I'm not giving you the money." He sucked in a breath. "Because of last night? Because Ashley got a little emotional? Dad, it was her wedding day. She was stressed. She slapped me. She barely touched you. And you said nothing. I didn't want to make a scene. I laughed then. Couldn't help it. Right. Wouldn't want to make a scene. So this is what? Revenge? You're punishing us because your feelings got hurt?" I set down my coffee cup. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply declining to fund a lifestyle you can't afford. We had a deal." "No. You had expectations. There's a difference." Michael's breathing was sharp in my ear. "You're a selfish old man. Mom would be ashamed of you." He hung up before I could respond. Which was probably for the best, because I wasn't sure what I would have said. Margaret wouldn't have been ashamed. Margaret would have canceled that check herself. Thomas Wright called me on Tuesday morning. "Robert, you old dog," he said. His voice still had that rolling baritone that made clients trust him with their money. We'd worked together at Sterling Bank for 20 years before we both retired. "I heard through the grapevine that you had an interesting weekend." News travels fast. My niece was at the wedding. She said World War III broke out at the reception. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Of course someone had talked. "Your niece exaggerates." "Does she?" Thomas chuckled. "She said your daughter-in-law demanded your apartment in front of 200 people. Said you walked out during the cake cutting. That true?" "More or less." "So, what are you going to do about it?" That was why I liked Thomas. He didn't waste time with sympathy or advice. He just asked the practical question. "I'm not sure yet," I said, "but I canceled the check I gave them." Thomas whistled. "How much?" 40,000. "Jesus, Robert, that's not pocket change." "No, it's not." "And they already spent it?" "Michael says they did, or most of it." Thomas was quiet for a moment. I could hear him thinking. "You know, I still have some contacts at the credit bureaus, and at most of the major banks. If you wanted to know exactly what kind of financial hole your son has dug himself into, I could make some calls." "That's probably illegal." "Probably," Thomas agreed. "But I'm retired. What are they going to do, fire me?" I stared out my window at the gray October morning. A couple walked past on the sidewalk below, holding hands. Margaret and I used to walk like that, before the cancer, before the medical bills that had eaten through half my retirement savings, before Michael had gotten too busy to visit her in the hospital. "Make the calls," I said. Thomas called me back 3 hours later. "Your son is drowning," he said without preamble. "Credit card debt just north of 60,000. Car payments on 2 vehicles he can't afford. A personal loan for 35,000 that he took out 8 months ago. And get this, he applied for a home equity line of credit last week. He doesn't own a home." "Exactly. He was trying to use your apartment as collateral." My hand tightened on the phone. "That's not possible. The apartment is in my name." "I know. The application was denied. But he tried, Robert. He forged your signature on the preliminary paperwork." The room tilted slightly. I sat down. "You still there?" Thomas asked. "I'm here. There's more. Your daughter-in-law has a business credit card, one of those Instagram influencer schemes. She's buying products, taking photos, then returning them, except she's not actually returning all of them. The credit card company is starting to notice. They've flagged her account." "How deep is she?" 22,000 on that card alone. She's got 3 others that are maxed out. I did the math in my head. Over 150,000 in debt between them. And they'd just spent 40,000 on a wedding. "They're planning a trip to Hawaii," I said. 3 weeks from now." Thomas laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "Of course they are. Let me guess, they're posting about it on social media?" "Probably. I don't follow their accounts." "You should. Know your enemy, Robert." "He's not my enemy. He's my son." "Right now," Thomas said quietly, "I'm not sure there's much difference." Dorothy Chen found me on Wednesday afternoon. I was sitting on the bench outside my building, watching the traffic pass and trying to decide if I was a terrible father. "You look like you're deciding whether to jump off a bridge," she said, settling onto the bench beside me. Dorothy was 73, sharp as a tack, and had lived in the building longer than anyone. She'd brought us casseroles after Margaret died, sat with me when the nights got too quiet. "The bridges around here aren't tall enough," I said. "Dark humor. That's how I know you're really upset." She patted my knee. "I heard about the wedding." "Did everyone hear about the wedding?" "Mrs. Patterson's grandson was there. He's a DJ. He said your daughter-in-law caused quite a scene." I rubbed my eyes. "She slapped me, asked for my apartment, Michael just stood there. Dorothy made a sound in her throat, somewhere between a cough and a growl. That boy needs a reality check. I canceled the money I gave them. Her eyebrows rose. The wedding money? $40,000. Dorothy's laugh was sharp and delighted. Oh, Robert, you didn't. I did. And how did that go over? Michael called me a selfish old man. Of course he did. Dorothy pulled her cardigan tighter against the October wind. Children always think their parents are being selfish when they stop being doormats. My daughter tried the same nonsense with me 15 years ago, wanted me to co-sign on a house she couldn't afford. I said no. She didn't talk to me for 6 months. And after 6 months? She apologized, realized I was right, bought a smaller house she could actually pay for. Dorothy looked at me sideways. Your son won't apologize in 6 months, though. No? No. He's going to get worse first. They always do. He's going to push, test you, see if you'll break. I won't break. Good. She stood up, brushing off her skirt. Oh, and speaking of your son, he stopped by yesterday. My stomach dropped. He was here? Looking for you. I told him you were out. He asked if I knew anything about flights to Hawaii. Dorothy's smile was wicked. I told him I have a friend who works at the airport. He got very interested in that. Dorothy, what did you do? Nothing yet, but I thought you might want to know that he's still planning that vacation, even though he doesn't have your money anymore. She paused at the building entrance. By the way, my friend really does work at the airport, scheduling department. If you wanted to make sure Michael's trip was memorable, I could arrange that. She disappeared inside before I could respond. I sat on that bench for another hour, thinking. I started following their social media accounts on Thursday. Ashley's Instagram was a carefully curated nightmare. Endless photos of her pouting in designer clothes, holding products she claimed to love. Every caption ended with a hashtag and a discount code. She had 47,000 followers. Her latest post showed her and Michael at some trendy restaurant downtown. The caption read, "Celebrating life with my amazing husband. 3 weeks until Hawaii. I can't wait to show you all the content I'm going to create. Use code Ashley20 for 20% off these sunglasses." The sunglasses probably cost $300. Michael's Facebook was less polished but equally revealing. Photos of his new car, check-ins at expensive bars, a countdown post about Hawaii with a gif of a plane taking off, not a single photo of me, not one mention of the wedding money or the debt or reality. I called Dorothy. "I want to take you up on that offer," I said, "about the airport." "I was hoping you'd say that." I could hear the smile in her voice. "What did you have in mind?" "Nothing catastrophic, just inconvenient. I like the way you think, Robert." Dorothy's friend was a woman named Susan Park, who'd been working in airport operations for 30 years. She met me at a coffee shop near the airport on Friday morning. "Dorothy says you need a favor," Susan said, stirring sugar into her coffee. "Something about teaching your son a lesson?" I explained the situation. The wedding, the slap, the money, the debt, the Hawaii trip they couldn't afford but were taking anyway. Susan listened without interrupting. When I finished, she nodded slowly. "I can't cancel their flight," she said. "That would raise flags, but I can make sure they experience some technical difficulties. Delayed departure, lost luggage, middle seats instead of the first-class ones I'm sure they booked. They can't afford first class. That won't stop them from trying to upgrade at the gate." Susan pulled out her phone. "Give me their names and flight information." "I don't have their flight information." Susan's smile was patient. "But you have their social media accounts, right? And your daughter-in-law strikes me as the type who posts everything." I pulled up Ashley's Instagram. Sure enough, 3 posts down was a photo of plane tickets on a laptop screen. The flight number was clearly visible. "Amateur," Susan muttered, zooming in on the photo. Okay, I've got it. Flight 2847, October 29th, 7:15 a.m. departure to Honolulu. What are you going to do? Me? Nothing. But that plane is going to develop a minor maintenance issue that will delay departure by about 4 hours. Their connection in Los Angeles will be long gone by the time they land. They'll have to wait for the next available flight, which won't be until the following morning. So instead of arriving in Hawaii Monday afternoon, they'll get there Tuesday evening. That's a full day and night of hotel charges, meal costs, and general frustration. That seems almost cruel. Robert. Susan looked at me over her coffee cup. Your daughter-in-law slapped you in public and demanded your home. Your son forged your signature to try to steal your assets. And they're both pretending to be rich on social media while drowning in debt they expect you to bail them out of. Trust me, a delayed flight is mercy. She was right, but it still felt strange, sitting in a coffee shop planning petty revenge against my own child. There's something else I can do, Susan said, but it's more expensive. What? I can flag their tickets, have TSA pull them aside for additional screening every single time they fly for the next year. I thought about it. No, the delayed flight is enough. You're a better man than I am. Susan finished her coffee and stood. The delay will happen. Count on it. And Robert? Dorothy told me about your wife. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. Make sure your son learns from this. Otherwise, you'll be dealing with this nonsense for the rest of your life. Michael called me on Saturday. I let it go to voicemail. Dad, we need to talk. Seriously. Can you please just call me back? This is getting ridiculous. I'm your son. Your only son. Don't you think you're overreacting? I deleted the message. He called again on Sunday. This time I answered. What do you want, Michael? I want you to stop acting like a child. His voice was tight, frustrated. Ashley feels terrible about what happened at the wedding. Does she? Yes, she was stressed. She apologized. She didn't apologize to me. Well, she's apologizing now, through me. I almost laughed. That's not how apologies work. Dad, come on. We're family. Can't we just move past this? You tried to forge my signature. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? The home equity application, using my apartment as collateral. Ring any bells? His breathing changed. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Michael. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not stupid. Who told you that? That's insane. Why would I do that? Because you're drowning in debt and you thought I wouldn't notice. I'm not drowning in anything. We're fine. We're better than fine. You owe over $150,000. Another silence. Longer this time. When he spoke, his voice was cold. You had someone investigate me? Your own son? I had someone tell me the truth, something you seem incapable of doing. This is unbelievable. You're actually insane. You know that? Mom died and you just lost your mind. The words hit like another slap, but I kept my voice steady. Your mother spent her last 3 months in a hospital bed. You visited her twice. She asked about you every single day. Where's Michael? Is Michael coming? And I had to tell her you were busy. You were always too busy. I had work. I couldn't just drop everything. You dropped everything for a wedding. You dropped everything for a car you can't afford. You're dropping everything for Hawaii. That's different. You're right. It is. Because your mother actually loved you. She actually sacrificed for you. She worked 2 jobs while I went to night school so we could afford to live in a decent neighborhood. So you could go to a good school. So you'd have opportunities we never had. And you thanked her by being too busy to say goodbye. I heard him swallow. That's not fair. No, it's not. But it's true. I'm still going to Hawaii. I know. And when I get back, we're going to sit down and talk about this, about you getting help. Because this paranoid behavior isn't normal. Enjoy your trip, Michael. I hung up before he could respond. The next 2 weeks passed slowly. I didn't hear from Michael. Didn't see him. His social media went into overdrive. Countdown posts, packing videos, Ashley modeling bikinis. Every post was a performance. Every smile was for the camera. I kept my phone close, waiting. Dorothy checked in on me every few days, brought me soup, asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was fine. Thomas called once to ask if I'd changed my mind. "It's not too late to wire them the money," he said. "Be the bigger man. Let it go." "I am letting it go," I told him. "That's exactly what I'm doing." The night before their flight, I barely slept. I kept imagining Michael at the airport, watching the departure time get pushed back, watching other planes take off while his sat at the gate. I felt guilty. Then I felt angry that I felt guilty. Then I felt tired. At 7:15 a.m. on Monday, October 29th, I was drinking coffee and staring at my phone. The first text came at 8:32 a.m. "This is unbelievable. Flight delayed, mechanical issue. They're saying at least 4 hours." I didn't respond. 8:47 a.m. "We're going to miss our connection." 9:15 a.m. "Dad, if you had something to do with this, I swear to God." I set the phone face down on the table. Dorothy called at 10 a.m. "Susan says the plane just pushed back from the gate. 4 hours and 12 minutes late. Your son and his wife are going to have a very long day." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. The real fun starts when they get to Los Angeles and realize they're spending the night in an airport hotel on their own dime." I should have felt satisfied, victorious. Instead, I just felt old. Michael didn't call me from the airport, didn't text again after that morning. His social media went dark for 24 hours. When the posts resumed Tuesday evening, they were different. Ashley's smile looked forced. The sunset photo from the hotel balcony had a caption about unexpected travel adventures and rolling with the punches. No mention of the delay, no mention of the missed connection or the unplanned hotel stay. The mask was cracking. I spent Tuesday afternoon walking through the city, past the restaurant where Margaret and I had our first date, past the hospital where Michael was born, past the bank where I'd worked for 30 years, making careful decisions with other people's money while slowly drowning in medical bills at home. Margaret's cancer treatment hadn't been covered by insurance, not all of it. The experimental drugs, the extra tests, the private room because she couldn't bear sharing space with strangers while she died. I'd paid for everything, liquidated investments, took out a loan. Michael never asked about the cost, never offered to help, just kept posting photos of his new car and his expensive dinners. I realized I'd been angry for a long time, long before the wedding, long before the slap. The wedding had just given me permission to stop pretending. Thomas met me for dinner Tuesday night at a diner near my apartment. "You're brooding," he said, dumping sugar into his coffee. "That's never a good sign." "I'm thinking." "About?" "Whether I'm doing the right thing." Thomas leaned back in the booth. "You want my honest opinion?" "Always." "Your son is a spoiled brat who's never faced a real consequence in his life. You and Margaret protected him from everything, every failure, every mistake. You bailed him out of student loans, co-signed for his first apartment, gave him money whenever he asked, and now he's an adult who thinks money appears magically whenever he needs it. So, no, you're not doing the wrong thing. If anything, you're about 20 years too late." "That's harsh." "It's true." Thomas flagged down the waitress for more coffee. "My daughter pulled the same nonsense when she was 25, wanted me to buy her a condo, said all her friends' parents were helping them. I told her to get a second job. She cried, called me heartless, didn't speak to me for a year. Now she's 38, owns her own business, and thanks me every Christmas for not giving in. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your kid is let them fail." This doesn't feel like letting him fail. It feels like pushing him. Maybe he needs to be pushed. Maybe that's the only way he'll learn to stand up on his own. Thomas met my eyes. Or maybe he won't learn. Maybe he'll just blame you forever, but at least you'll know you tried. The coffee tasted bitter. Everything tasted bitter lately. Michael called me Wednesday afternoon. I was expecting anger, accusations. Instead, his voice was exhausted. "We're in Hawaii," he said. "I know." The flight was a nightmare. The hotel in LA was a nightmare. This whole trip is a nightmare. I waited. Ashley's been crying since we got here. She says this vacation is ruined. She can't post any of her planned content because we got here a day late and she's behind schedule. She thinks her followers are going to lose interest if she's not consistent. He laughed. It sounded broken. A day late, and her entire business model falls apart. How insane is that? Maybe she needs a different business model. Maybe she needs different luck. He was quiet for a moment. "Did you do this? The flight delay?" I could lie. Should lie. But I was tired of lying. "Yes." "How?" "I know people." "Jesus Christ, Dad, why? What did we ever do to you that was worth sabotaging our vacation?" "You slapped me." "She slapped me." "You said nothing. You tried to steal my apartment. You forged my signature. You ignored your mother while she died. You spent money you don't have on a lifestyle you can't afford, and when I stopped enabling it, you called me selfish." I took a breath. "Should I keep going?" Silence. "Michael, you owe $150,000. You have no savings, no emergency fund, no plan except to keep spending and hope someone bails you out. What happens when the credit cards get shut off? When the car gets repossessed? When Ashley's Instagram sponsors realize she's a fraud?" "We're not frauds. She buys products for photos and returns them. That's fraud, Michael. The credit card companies are already noticing." "How do you know that?" "Because I'm not an idiot, and because I still have friends in banking who can see what you refuse to see. You're drowning, both of you, and instead of asking for help or making changes, you're on a beach in Hawaii pretending everything is fine. Maybe everything would be fine if you hadn't canceled that check. Or maybe you would have spent that money too and still been in the same place, just 40,000 deeper." He didn't have an answer for that. "Enjoy the rest of your trip," I said. "And when you get home, figure out a real plan. Not another vacation, not another Instagram post, a real plan to fix your life." I hung up before he could argue. Dorothy found me on the bench again Thursday afternoon. "You did it," she said, sitting beside me. "I did something. I'm not sure what yet. You taught him a lesson." "Did I? Or did I just make him hate me?" Dorothy was quiet for a while. We watched cars pass. A woman walked by with a stroller. Life going on like normal, while mine felt suspended. "My husband used to say something," Dorothy said finally. "Before he died. He said you can't make someone understand what they're not ready to understand. You can show them. You can tell them. But until they're ready to see it themselves, it doesn't matter what you do." So I wasted my time. "No, you planted a seed. Whether it grows or not isn't up to you anymore. It's up to Michael. What if it doesn't grow? Then you move on. You live your life. You stop waiting for him to change and start accepting who he is. He's my son. I know, and that makes it harder. But it doesn't make it less true." She left me there with my thoughts and the October wind. They came back from Hawaii on Sunday. I knew because Ashley's Instagram showed them at the airport, exhausted and sunburned. The caption was short, "Home sweet home. Sometimes vacations don't go as planned, but we make the best of it. Blessed, living our best life." The comments were full of people asking what went wrong. She didn't respond to any of them. Michael texted me Monday morning. "We need to talk, in person." I told him to come by at 2 o'clock. He arrived at 2:07, alone. That surprised me. I'd expected Ashley to come too, to make demands, to perform. "She's at her mother's," Michael said, as if reading my mind. "She didn't want to see you. The feeling is mutual." We sat in my living room, the same room where he'd grown up, where Margaret had read him bedtime stories, where we'd celebrated his high school graduation. It felt smaller now, darker. I need to ask you something, Michael said, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Are you trying to destroy my life? I blinked. What? The canceled check, the flight delay, whatever else you have planned. Are you trying to ruin me? No, Michael, I'm trying to wake you up. By sabotaging my vacation? By humiliating me? By making me look like a fool in front of my wife? You're doing that yourself. I'm just not stopping you anymore. He stood up, paced to the window, stood there with his back to me. Do you know what it's like to work as hard as I do and still feel like I'm failing? To see everyone around me succeeding while I'm just trying to keep my head above water? Yes, I do. Then why are you making it harder? I'm not making it harder, Michael. I'm making it real. You've been living in a fantasy where money appears when you need it and consequences don't exist. That's not the real world. So you decided to teach me a lesson like I'm 12 years old? You're acting like you're 12 years old, maybe even younger. 12-year-olds don't forge their parents' signatures to steal property. He turned around. His face was red. I wasn't trying to steal anything. I just needed some liquidity. Just a small loan against the value of the apartment. I would have paid you back. With what money? I'm working on some opportunities, some investments. Michael. I kept my voice gentle. You're broke. You have more debt than most people make in a year. You can't afford opportunities or investments. You can barely afford groceries. That's not true. Then show me your bank account. Show me that I'm wrong. He couldn't. We both knew he couldn't. I don't know what you want from me, he said quietly. You want me to apologize? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the wedding. I'm sorry about the check. I'm sorry about all of it. Are we good now? No. Why not? Because you're not sorry. You're just saying what you think I want to hear, so I'll give you money again. That's not true, isn't it? If I wrote you a check right now for $50,000, would you still be sorry? Or would you take the money and forget this conversation ever happened? He didn't answer, didn't need to. His face said everything. That's what I thought, I said. You're going to hold this over me forever, aren't you? Every time I need something, you're going to throw this in my face. No, Michael. I'm not going to hold anything over you, because I'm not giving you anything. Not anymore. So that's it? You're cutting me off completely? I'm letting you be an adult. There's a difference. He grabbed his coat, headed for the door, stopped with his hand on the knob. Mom wouldn't have done this, he said. Your mother died broke because she spent everything trying to make you happy. Maybe if she'd said no more often, she would have had enough left for better treatment. Maybe she'd still be alive. It was a cruel thing to say. I knew it the second the words left my mouth, but I couldn't take them back. Michael's hand tightened on the doorknob. Don't you dare blame me for that. I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming myself for not teaching you that love doesn't mean fixing all your problems. He left without another word. I didn't hear from Michael for 2 weeks. His social media continued. Ashley's posts became more frequent, more desperate. Every day brought new product photos, new discount codes, new captions begging people to like and share. Her follower count started dropping. Slowly at first, then faster. I watched it happen with a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. Thomas called to check in. How are you holding up? I'm not sure. That's honest, at least. Have you talked to your son? He came by last week. It didn't go well. Did you expect it to? I don't know what I expected. Maybe for him to admit he has a problem. Maybe for him to ask for actual help instead of just more money. That's not going to happen overnight, Robert. You know that. I know. But I'm tired of waiting. Then stop waiting. Do something else. Take a trip. Visit those cousins in Florida you're always talking about. Stop sitting around waiting for your son to have an epiphany. He was right. I'd been in holding pattern for months. Since Margaret died. Since the wedding. Since I'd made the decision to stop being a doormat. I booked a flight to Hawaii. Dorothy thought I was crazy. You're going to Hawaii? The same place you just ruined your son's vacation? Different island, I said. And I'm not ruining anything. I'm just taking a trip. Uh-huh. And this has nothing to do with proving a point? Maybe it did. Maybe I wanted to show Michael that I could afford things he couldn't, that I'd been careful with money while he'd been reckless, that his financial crisis wasn't my emergency. Or maybe I just wanted to sit on a beach and not think about any of this for a while. I left on a Wednesday in mid-November. The flight was smooth, no delays, no mechanical issues. I arrived in Maui Tuesday evening and checked into a modest hotel near the beach. Not luxury, not 5-star, but clean and comfortable and mine. I spent Thursday morning walking along the shore. The water was impossibly blue. The sand was warm under my feet. I thought about Margaret, how she'd always wanted to take a trip like this, how we'd always said someday and someday never came because there was always something more important. Michael's tuition, the new roof, the medical bills. I pulled out my phone and took a photo of the sunset, posted it to Facebook with a simple caption, "Sometimes you just need a break." Michael saw it. I know because he texted me an hour later. "Seriously? You're in Hawaii?" "Yes." "After what you did to our trip, you're taking your own vacation." "I am." "That's unbelievable. That's actually insane." "I'm spending my own money, Michael. Money I saved by being responsible." "You're doing this to hurt me." "I'm doing this for me. There's a difference." He didn't text back after that. I spent the next 3 days hiking, snorkeling, reading books on the beach. I ate fresh fish and drank coffee while watching the sunrise. I didn't think about Michael, didn't check his social media, didn't worry about his debt or his marriage or his opinion of me. For the first time in a year, I felt free. The call came on my last day in Hawaii. I was packing my suitcase, folding shirts still warm from the balcony railing where they'd been drying, when my phone rang. Not Michael. Ashley. I stared at the screen for 3 rings before answering. "Robert?" Her voice was different, smaller, none of the performance edge I'd heard at the wedding. "Can we talk?" "We're talking now." "No, I mean really talk. In person. When you get back." "Why?" She was quiet for a moment. I could hear traffic in the background. "Because I think I owe you an apology. A real one." "You think?" I know I do." She took a breath. "Michael doesn't know I'm calling. He'd be furious if he knew. But I need to talk to you, please." Something in her voice made me pause. It sounded like surrender. "Okay. When do you get back?" "Tomorrow evening. Can I come by Thursday morning around 10? "All right." She hung up without saying goodbye. I finished packing, trying to figure out what game she was playing, because it had to be a game, didn't it? Ashley didn't do anything that wasn't calculated. Every Instagram post, every smile, every conversation, it was all performance. But that voice on the phone hadn't sounded like performance. It had sounded tired. The flight home was long. I had too much time to think. Too much time to wonder if I'd pushed too hard. If the delayed flight and the canceled check and the Hawaii trip had been about teaching Michael a lesson, or just about making myself feel better. Dorothy met me at my apartment Wednesday night with leftover lasagna and questions. "How was paradise?" "Expensive, beautiful, quiet." "Did you miss your son?" "No." She raised an eyebrow. "That was fast." "You asked. I answered." I set my suitcase down by the door. "Ashley called me. She's coming over tomorrow." "Without Michael?" "Apparently." "That's interesting." "That's what I thought." Dorothy cut me a slice of lasagna and slid it across the kitchen counter. "What do you think she wants?" "Money. That's all she ever wants." "Maybe. Or maybe she's smarter than you think." "Meaning?" "Meaning maybe she sees the writing on the wall. Maybe she knows this whole house of cards is about to collapse, and she's looking for the exits." Dorothy leaned against the counter. "Women like Ashley, they're survivors. They'll charm you, use you, bleed you dry if you let them. But when the ship starts sinking, they're the first ones in the lifeboats. You think she's leaving Michael? I think she's considering her options. And one of those options might be getting on your good side before everything falls apart. I ate the lasagna. It was cold, but I didn't care. What should I do? Listen to what she has to say. Don't commit to anything, and for God's sake, don't give her money. Ashley arrived at 10:03 Thursday morning. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked younger without all the Instagram polish. Younger and scared. "Thank you for seeing me," she said at the door. I let her in, offered coffee. She accepted. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Margaret had done crossword puzzles, where Michael had done homework, where I'd signed the check for $40,000 that started this whole mess. "I'm sorry," Ashley said, her hands wrapped around the coffee mug like she needed the warmth. "For the wedding, for slapping you, for demanding your apartment, for all of it." "Okay. That's it? Just okay?" "What do you want me to say? That I forgive you?" "I don't know if I do yet." She nodded. "Fair enough. I was awful to you. I know that. I was stressed and scared, and I took it out on you because you were there and because I thought I could get away with it." "Why were you scared?" She looked down at her coffee. "Because we're broke, Robert. Completely broke. The wedding cost $60,000. We put $30,000 on credit cards. We used your $40,000 for the rest. When you canceled the check, we couldn't pay the caterer, or the photographer, or half the vendors. They're threatening to sue us." "And the Hawaii trip?" "We'd already paid for that months ago. Non-refundable. We couldn't cancel even if we wanted to. So we went, and it was horrible. The whole time I was there, all I could think about was the bills waiting at home, the credit card statements, the collection calls." I sipped my coffee, waited. "Michael thinks we can fix this. He keeps saying he's got investment opportunities, business ideas. He's talking about starting a consulting firm, about flipping houses, about cryptocurrency. It's all fantasy. None of it's real." She met my eyes. "We're going to lose everything, aren't we?" "Probably. Can you help us?" There it was. The real reason for the visit. "No. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for advice. You worked in banking. You understand this stuff. Can you tell us what to do?" "You want my advice?" "Yes. Declare bankruptcy. Cut up the credit cards. Sell both cars and buy something cheap. Ashley, stop pretending to be rich on Instagram and get a real job. Michael, stop chasing pipe dreams and face reality. Stop spending money you don't have on things you don't need to impress people you don't like." She flinched. "That's harsh." "It's honest. You asked for advice. That's my advice. Bankruptcy will ruin our credit. Your credit is already ruined. Bankruptcy just makes it official. And it gives you a fresh start. A chance to actually build something real instead of this facade you've been maintaining." Ashley set down her coffee cup. Her hands were shaking. "Michael will never agree to that. He thinks bankruptcy is for failures." "Then Michael is going to spend the next 10 years drowning in debt and blaming everyone but himself." "He blames you." "I know. He says you sabotaged our vacation, canceled the check on purpose just to hurt us. He's talking about not speaking to you anymore, cutting you out of his life completely." "That's his choice. Doesn't that bother you?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. Yes. But it bothers me more to watch him destroy himself while expecting me to fund it. Ashley nodded slowly. "I think I'm going to leave him." I wasn't sure I'd heard her correctly. "What?" "I'm going to leave Michael. I've been thinking about it for weeks, maybe longer." She twisted the wedding ring on her finger. "I married him because I thought he had money. That sounds terrible, but it's true. He was driving a nice car. He wore expensive suits. He took me to nice restaurants. I thought he was successful. He was pretending. We both were. I was pretending to be an influencer. He was pretending to be successful. We were both just pretending. She pulled off the ring, set it on the table between us. I can't do it anymore. I can't keep pretending, and I can't watch him drag me down with him. Does he know? Not yet. I'm telling him tonight. I wanted to talk to you first, to apologize, to try to make things right before I left. You don't need my permission to leave. No, but I needed to say I'm sorry. You were right about everything, about the debt, about the lifestyle we couldn't afford, about me being a fraud. You were right and I hated you for it. But you were still right. She stood up, left the ring on the table. Thank you for the coffee. And for listening. I know I don't deserve your kindness. Ashley, wait. She turned at the door. Where will you go? My mother's, for a while, until I figure things out. Maybe get a real job like you said. Stop trying to be someone I'm not. That's a good start. She almost smiled. Yeah, maybe it is. After she left, I sat at the table staring at the wedding ring. It was small, probably cheap. But Michael had been so proud when he'd bought it, so sure he was building something real. I called Dorothy. Ashley's leaving him, I said. I told you she would. Did I cause this? No, Robert. Their debt caused this. Their lies caused this. Their complete inability to face reality caused this. You just stopped enabling it. There's a difference. Michael's going to blame me anyway. Probably, but that's not your problem anymore. Michael showed up at my apartment Friday evening. I saw him through the window, sitting in his car for 10 minutes before he finally got out and buzzed my intercom. We need to talk, he said through the speaker. Come up. He looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, eyes red from crying or not sleeping or both. He pushed past me into the apartment without waiting for an invitation. She left me, he said. Ashley left. She said she can't do this anymore. She said we're drowning and I won't admit it. She said you were right about everything. Michael, don't. Don't say anything. I don't want to hear it. He was pacing. Couldn't stand still. She took half our stuff, just packed it up and left, moved back in with her mother. She said she's filing for divorce. I'm sorry. Are you? Because this is what you wanted, isn't it? You wanted to destroy my marriage, destroy my life, prove that I'm a failure. No. I wanted you to stop lying to yourself. I'm not lying to myself. Michael, you owe $150,000. Your wife just left you. Your credit cards are maxed out. You're about to lose your apartment. When exactly were you planning to admit you have a problem? He stopped pacing, stood in the middle of my living room with his hands in his pockets. I had a plan. I was going to fix everything. With what? More debt? More fantasy investments that never materialize? With hard work, with determination, with my money. That's what you were counting on. You thought eventually I'd give in, write you another check, bail you out like I always have, but I'm not doing that anymore. So you're just going to watch me fail? I'm going to watch you finally face the consequences of your choices. There's a difference. Michael's face crumpled. For a second, he looked like he did when he was 8 years old and fell off his bike. Scraped knees, tears, looking to me to fix it. I don't know what to do, he said quietly. Yes, you do. You just don't want to do it. Bankruptcy? It's a start. That's admitting defeat. No, that's admitting reality. Defeat would be continuing to pretend everything is fine while your life falls apart. He sat down on the couch, put his head in his hands. How did this happen? How did I get here? You made bad choices. You spent money you didn't have. You married someone who was just as lost as you were. You built a life on credit and Instagram posts and the assumption that someone would always catch you when you fell. You caught me before. I know. And that was my mistake. I should have let you fall years ago. Maybe you would have learned something. Maybe you would have built something real instead of this house of cards. He looked up at me. Do you hate me? The question surprised me. No, I don't hate you. You should, after everything I did. The forged signature, the lies, letting Ashley slap you. You should hate me. I'm angry. I'm disappointed, but I don't hate you. You're my son. Then help me, please. I'm begging you. Just one more time. Help me fix this. How much do you need? His eyes lit up. Hope. Maybe 50,000. To pay off the wedding vendors, to cover a few months' rent, to give me breathing room to figure out a real plan. And then what? In 6 months, when that money's gone, you'll need another 50,000? And another? Where does it end, Michael? It ends here, I swear. This is the last time. I'll get my life together. I'll find a better job. I'll stop spending. I'll do whatever it takes. You'll say that now. You might even believe it. But in 6 months, you'll be right back here with another crisis, another emergency, another reason why you need money. I won't. I promise. I looked at my son, really looked at him, saw the desperation, the fear, the small part of him that still believed his father would fix everything. No, I said. What? No, I'm not giving you money, not 50,000, not $50, not anything. But you just said, I said I don't hate you. I didn't say I was going to enable you. I stood up, walked to the window. You need to figure this out yourself. Talk to a bankruptcy lawyer, sell what you can, get a second job if you have to, do whatever it takes to climb out of this hole you dug. But do it yourself. I can't. You can. You just don't want to. He stood up. His face was red. Angry again. Fine. Fine. I'll figure it out myself. And when I do, don't expect me to come around. Don't expect Christmas visits or birthday calls. You want to cut me off? Consider yourself cut off too. If that's what you need to do. It is. It's exactly what I need to do. Because clearly you don't give a damn about me. You never did. This whole thing, the canceled check, the sabotaged vacation, the tough love bullshit, it's all just you being a bitter old man who wants everyone to be as miserable as you are. If that's what you think, then you haven't learned anything. Michael grabbed his coat, headed for the door, stopped with his hand on the knob, just like last time. Mom would be ashamed of you, he said. Your mother would be ashamed of both of us, but mostly she'd be sad. Sad that I waited so long to do this. Sad that you turned out this way. Sad that we're standing here having this conversation instead of actually being a family. He slammed the door on his way out. I didn't hear from Michael after that. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into a month. His social media went quiet. Ashley's went quieter. Her Instagram posts stopped completely. Her follower count dropped below 20,000. Thomas checked in regularly. Any word from your son? No. How are you holding up? I'm not sure. Some days I think I did the right thing. Other days I think I'm the worst father in the world. You're not. Trust me. You're doing what he needed, even if he can't see it yet. Dorothy brought me dinner twice a week. Never asked about Michael. Just sat with me. Kept me company. Reminded me that I wasn't alone. I went back to work part-time. Not at the bank, but at a non-profit, helping people with financial planning. Low-income families. People drowning in debt like Michael. People who needed someone to teach them what I'd failed to teach my son. It helped. Focusing on other people's problems, seeing them make progress, watching them learn to budget, to save, to say no to things they couldn't afford. One woman, Sarah, reminded me of Ashley. Same age, same desperation to appear successful. She came to me with $40,000 in credit card debt and an Instagram account full of designer bags she couldn't afford. I need a loan, she said at our first meeting. Just enough to consolidate everything. Then I can start over. No, I said. You don't need a loan. You need a plan. We spent 3 months building that plan, cutting expenses, selling things, getting her on a payment schedule. It was hard. She cried twice, almost quit 3 times, but she stuck with it. At our last meeting, she showed me her bank account. $2,000 in savings, all her cards paid down by half. a budget she'd actually followed for 60 days straight. "I did it," she said. "I can't believe I actually did it." "You did, and you did it yourself. That's important. When the next crisis comes, you'll know you can handle it." "My boyfriend broke up with me," she said. "Last week. He said I was too focused on money, too stressed about bills. He wanted someone fun." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. He was part of the problem. He's the one who convinced me to buy all that stuff, to live beyond my means, to pretend to be someone I wasn't." She smiled. Turns out losing him was the best thing that could have happened. I thought about Michael, about Ashley, about marriages built on debt and image instead of reality. "Yeah," I said. "Sometimes it is." Christmas came and went. No card from Michael, no call. Dorothy invited me to her daughter's house for dinner. I went. It was nice, normal. Nobody talked about money or disappointment or estranged children. On New Year's Eve, I sat in my apartment alone with a glass of wine and thought about resolutions. About what I wanted from the new year. I wanted peace. I wanted to stop wondering if Michael was okay. Stop checking his social media every few days, hoping to see signs of progress. Stop waiting for a call that probably wasn't coming. I wanted to forgive myself for waiting so long to say no, for enabling him for years, for prioritizing his happiness over teaching him responsibility. I wanted to forgive Margaret for doing the same thing, for protecting him too much, for making me the bad guy every time I tried to set boundaries. I wanted to forgive Michael for not being the son I'd hoped he'd be, for choosing the easy path over the right one, for not learning the lessons I'd tried to teach. The clock struck midnight. I toasted to Margaret's memory, to the year we'd lost her, to the years we'd had together before the medical bills and the stress and the slow realization that we'd failed as parents. My phone rang at 12:17 a.m. Michael. I stared at the screen, let it ring 3 times, 4, answered on the 5th. "Happy New Year, Dad." His voice was sober, steady, different. "Happy New Year, Michael. I'm sorry for calling so late. I wasn't sure if I should call at all, but it's a new year and I thought, maybe. Maybe what? Maybe we could talk, really talk, not fight, just talk." "Okay." He took a breath. "I filed for bankruptcy 2 weeks ago. The lawyer said it'll take a few months to process everything, but it's done. I did it." "That's good." "It doesn't feel good. It feels like failure. It feels like a first step. There's a difference." "Yeah, maybe." He was quiet for a moment. "I got a second job, stocking shelves at a grocery store, overnight shift. It's humiliating. People I went to high school with see me there. In a vest, with a name tag." "That's honest work, Michael." "I know. It just doesn't feel like enough. Like I went from thinking I was going to be successful to stocking canned soup at 2 in the morning. Success isn't about where you work. It's about living within your means, about being honest with yourself." "I know. I'm trying. I'm really trying." Another pause. "I saw Ashley last week. At the grocery store, actually. She was shopping. Didn't see me. She looked different. Hair shorter, no makeup, regular clothes. She looked normal." "How did that make you feel?" "Sad. But also relieved? Like maybe we were both pretending so hard that we forgot how to be real. And now she gets to be real and I'm still figuring out what that means for me. It takes time." "How much time?" "However long it takes." He laughed. It sounded bitter. "That's not helpful." "I know. But it's true." We were both quiet for a while. I could hear traffic in the background on his end. He was outside somewhere, maybe on a break from work. "I'm still angry at you," he said finally. "For the check, for Hawaii, for all of it. I know you think you were helping, but it felt like you were punishing me." "Maybe I was, a little, but mostly I was just tired of watching you hurt yourself. It's been lonely, these past few months. Ashley's gone. You weren't speaking to me. Work is just work. I don't have friends anymore. just people I owed money to. You could have called me. I didn't think you'd answer. I would have answered. Would you have helped? Depends on what you were asking for. He laughed again. This time, it was real. That's fair. I probably would have been asking for money. Probably. I'm not asking now, just so you know. I'm not calling because I need anything. I'm calling because it's New Year's and I'm standing outside a grocery store at midnight stocking shelves, and I realized I didn't want to start the year alone. You're not alone, Michael. You never were. It felt like it sometimes. I know. We talked for another 20 minutes, about nothing important, about his second job, about the weather, about a movie he'd seen, normal conversation, the kind we hadn't had in years, maybe ever. When we hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Michael called again in January, then February. Short conversations, nothing deep, just checking in, building a bridge one careful word at a time. He didn't ask for money. I didn't offer advice. We just talked. In March, he told me the bankruptcy was finalized. All the debt, except his student loans, was wiped away. He was starting over with nothing, but at least it was really nothing instead of negative $150,000. I'm scared, he admitted. What if I screw this up too? Then you'll learn from it and try again. It's not that simple. It really is. It's just not easy. In April, he told me he'd enrolled in a financial planning course. Free class at the community college, learning how to budget, how to save, how to make smart decisions with money. Some of this stuff you tried to teach me when I was younger, he said. I wish I'd listened. You're listening now. That's what matters. In May, he sent me a photo of his bank account. $743.82 in savings, his first emergency fund. It's not much, the text said. It's everything, I wrote back. In June, Dorothy knocked on my door at 7 in the morning. Your son is downstairs, she said. He wants to see you. I went down in my bathrobe. Michael was sitting on the bench where Dorothy and I had spent so many afternoons talking. He looked better, healthier. His clothes were clean but inexpensive. His car was old but paid for. Hi, Dad. Hi. I wanted to see you, in person, not just on the phone. Okay. I've been going to therapy since March. The bankruptcy lawyer recommended it, said a lot of people struggle with the emotional side of financial failure, that it's not just about the money. That's good. It's been hard, talking about all of it. The wedding, Ashley, you, Mom. The therapist says I was using money to avoid dealing with grief. That after Mom died, I tried to buy my way out of feeling sad. I sat down beside him on the bench. I did the same thing, just in reverse. I hoarded money instead of spending it. Thought if I saved enough, I could protect myself from ever hurting like that again. Did it work? No. Pain finds you anyway. You can't budget your way out of grief. Michael nodded. The therapist says I blamed you because it was easier than blaming myself, that I made you the villain so I didn't have to face what I'd done. I'm sorry for that. For all of it. I'm sorry, too, for waiting so long to say no, for enabling you, for not teaching you these things when you were younger. You tried. I just wasn't ready to listen. We sat there for a while, watching cars pass, watching life happen around us. Two men who'd hurt each other, trying to figure out how to move forward. I'm not asking you to fix things between us, Michael said. I know that takes time, but I wanted you to know I'm trying. I'm really trying to be better. I can see that. And I wanted to say thank you for not giving me the money, for forcing me to figure it out myself. I hated you for it, but you were right. I needed to fail. I needed to hit bottom so I could learn how to climb back up. That's very mature of you. My therapist will be thrilled. She's been waiting for me to have that realization for months. He smiled. It was a real smile, the first one I'd seen from him in over a year. I got promoted at my day job, nothing huge, just a supervisor position, but it comes with better pay and benefits. That's great. and I quit the overnight grocery job. I'm taking evening classes instead. Accounting. Figured if I'm going to rebuild my life, I should build it on something solid. That's smart. I'm going to be okay, Dad. It's going to take time, but I'm going to be okay. I know. He stood up, extended his hand. I shook it, then pulled him into a hug. He was stiff at first. Then he relaxed, hugged me back. I should go, he said. I have class in an hour. Come to dinner sometime, when you're ready. No pressure. I'd like that. He walked to his car, waved before he got in, drove away. Dorothy appeared beside me. How long were you watching? Long enough. She linked her arm through mine. He's going to be okay. Yeah, I think he is. And you? Are you okay? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Yeah, I think I am too. Summer passed. Michael came to dinner twice. We kept it light. No talk of the past. Just two people sharing a meal and trying to figure out how to be family again. In August, I got an email from an unknown address. The subject line read, "Thank you." It was from Ashley. Robert, I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. I got your email from Michael's old contacts list. I wanted to tell you that you were right about everything. About me, about the debt, about the fake life I was living. I'm working as a teacher's aide now. Real job, real paycheck, real life. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. I'm enrolled in school to get my teaching certificate. 2 years and I'll be able to support myself completely. I filed for divorce in July. Michael and I are both better off apart. I hope you can forgive me for how I treated you. I was cruel and entitled, and I'm ashamed of that person. Thank you for not letting me continue down that path. You saved my life, even though it didn't feel like it at the time. I hope you're well. Ashley. I read the email 3 times, then I wrote back. Ashley, thank you for reaching out. I'm glad you're building something real. That takes courage. I forgive you. I hope you can forgive yourself. Good luck with school. Robert. Her response came an hour later. Just 2 words. I'm trying. In September, Michael called to tell me he'd been accepted into a bachelor's degree program, business administration, evening classes. It would take 4 years while working full-time, but he was committed. I want to do this right, he said. No shortcuts, no pretending, just actual work. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Dad. That means a lot. In October, exactly 1 year after the wedding, Michael came to my apartment with a check. What's this? I asked. $500. It's not much, but it's the first payment on what I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do. You gave me $40,000 for the wedding. I spent it. Then I treated you like garbage. I owe you for the money and for being a terrible son. Michael, please, let me do this. Let me pay you back, even if it takes 10 years, 20 years. Let me do this. I looked at the check, at my son's handwriting, at the determination in his face. Okay, but on one condition. What? You put the same amount into savings every month. $500 to me, $500 to your emergency fund. He smiled. Deal. A year later, Michael invited me to his apartment for Thanksgiving. His new apartment. Small, modest, but clean and his. I can't offer you much, he said, gesturing to the table where he'd set out a simple meal. Turkey breast, mashed potatoes from a box, canned cranberry sauce. But it's all paid for. No credit cards, no debt. Just food I could afford. It's perfect. We ate, we talked. We laughed about things that had seemed tragic a year ago. The delayed flight, the canceled check, the grocery store job. You know what the weirdest part is? Michael said. I'm happier now, with less money, with a tiny apartment and a used car and canned cranberry sauce. I'm happier than I was when I was pretending to be rich. That's because you're living your actual life now, not someone else's idea of what your life should look like. Is that what you did? After Mom died? Just lived your actual life? I tried. I'm still trying. Some days are better than others. I miss her. Me too. I'm sorry I wasn't there more. At the end. I know. She knew too. Do you think she would have been proud of me for getting my act together? I thought about Margaret, about her laugh, her kindness, her endless optimism even when the medical bills were piling up and we both knew how the story would end. She would have been proud that you figured it out, that you didn't give up, that you're building something real. I raised my glass of water. To Margaret, who loved us both even when we were idiots. Michael raised his glass. To Mom. We drank. After dinner, Michael pulled out a photo album. Pictures from when he was young, birthday parties, little league games, high school graduation. Margaret was in most of them, smiling, always smiling. I found this at Mom's sister's house, Michael said. She was cleaning out her attic and found a box of photos, asked if I wanted them. I haven't seen some of these in years. Look at this one. He pointed to a photo of Margaret and me at the beach. I was maybe 40. She was wearing a sundress and laughing at something off camera. You both look so happy. We were. That was before the cancer, before the bills, before everything got complicated. Do you ever wish you could go back? Just be there again? When things were simple? Sometimes. But if I went back, I wouldn't have learned anything, wouldn't have become who I am now, and I wouldn't trade that. Michael flipped through more photos, stopped at one of him as a toddler. Margaret was holding him. I was standing beside them. We all looked tired but content. I want to do better than I did, he said quietly. If I ever have kids, I want to teach them about money, about responsibility, about not living beyond their means, about being honest. You'll do fine. You think? I think you learned some hard lessons. That's more than most people have. He closed the album. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why didn't you just give up on me? After everything I did, after I treated you so badly, why didn't you just walk away? I thought about the question, really thought about it. Because you're my son, and because I remembered being young and stupid and thinking I knew everything, and because, despite everything, I never stopped believing you could figure it out if you actually tried. Michael's eyes were wet. Thanks, Dad. For what? For not giving up. For being tough when I needed you to be. For teaching me the lesson I didn't want to learn. You're welcome. We sat there for a while longer, looking at photos, telling stories, being family again. When I left that night, Michael walked me to my car. Same time next year? He asked. I'll bring the cranberry sauce. Deal. I drove home thinking about second chances, about how sometimes the hardest thing you can do for someone you love is let them fail. Let them struggle. Let them figure out that comfort and enabling aren't the same thing as love. 2 years later, Michael graduated with his bachelor's degree. I was in the audience when he walked across the stage. Dorothy came with me. Thomas drove in from Florida, where he'd retired. That's my boy, I said when they called his name. Dorothy squeezed my hand. Margaret would be so proud. Yeah, she would. After the ceremony, Michael found us in the crowd. His girlfriend was with him, a woman named Emma who worked as a nurse and had no social media presence and drove a sensible car. They'd been dating for 6 months and she made him laugh in a way I hadn't seen since.